Holy crap! Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage and Aquaman is certainly one of the biggest, craziest and also most ludicrous mainstream superhero movies ever made. It was directed by James Wan, who nowadays is almost always mentioned as the creator of the Conjuring films. I always think about him as the director of the first Saw, which is one of my favorite modern horror movies. In that film he had to work on a shoestring budget and created something very tense and claustrophobic. Aquaman is very much the opposite. This is a giant spectacle full of special effects and it feels very much like a Saturday morning cartoon for little boys or people who are still little boys at heart. It's full of exciting set pieces, light-hearted humor and attitude, and it's also very cheesy and outlandish. But it's also very choppy and all over the place when it comes to its tone. At the end of the day, Aquaman was just a lot of fun and I was simply happy watching this grand, messy adventure. It is the sixth film in Warner Bros. DC Extended Universe and it's better than Justice League and Suicide Squad, far better than Batman v Superman, probably on par with Man of Steel but not even close to Wonder Woman. We have been first introduced to Arthur Curry aka Aquaman in a horrible email video attachment in BVS and we've seen this very machismo version of the character in some action in Justice League. But now we finally really delve into the whole story of the superhero that has been ridiculed by many for a very long time. He can talk to fish and the name sounds like he's selling bottles of water. But in his new incarnation he's also played by the big hunk of a man Jason Momoa and he's just oozing with charisma. But before we see him in his full glory we learn a little bit about his origin. Arthur is the son of a lighthouse keeper and the queen of Atlantis, the love child of two worlds that are soon threatened to be at war with each other. To see his parents meet and fall in love felt very cheesy to me, but it was also super effective. His father Tom is played by Temuera Morrison and his mother Atlanta by Nicole Kidman. Her role is a small one, but Kidman plays it completely sincere and it does help the film's emotional core a lot, especially since it's surrounded by a lot of bombast. I don't think Aquaman does a particularly good job in fleshing out its themes or giving its characters actual arcs that are explored through the story. It only touches them on the surface, but thanks to its very likable cast, the energetic and highly dynamic cinematography, at least for most parts, and a really moving epic score by Rupert Gregson-Williams, I can't deny that Aquaman felt way more emotional to me than it might have actually earned. Similar to Superman, Arthur Curry is someone who's an outsider, someone who doesn't belong. The home of his mother are the oceans, but that world looks down on him because he's not of pure blood. Or at least his half-brother Orm is looking down on him. He, played by Patrick Wilson, is the film's main antagonist, and his goal is rather cliché. He tries to unite the 7 underwater kingdoms to wage war against the surface world. After tricking King Nereus, played by Dolph Lundgren, in a very obvious manner into swearing allegiance to him, Nereus' daughter Mara journeys to the surface to ask Arthur for help, and also to persuade him to take his rightful place as the true king of Atlantis. Of course he doesn't want to, but helps anyway, and together they go on a search for some kind of holy trident. This whole adventure has a little bit of a Raiders of the Lost Ark vibe to it, but unfortunately also a rather random feeling as well. The steps on their journey don't feel that connected, but again, it doesn't tank the film because the ride is so enjoyable. Of course Arthur and Mara, played by Amber Heard, get romantically involved as well, and it's really an explosive romance. You will know what I mean. The first time we see Jason Momoa on screen is when he's confronting a group of pirates who try to hijack a nuclear submarine. In that whole sequence we get to hear a guitar riff at least 3 or 4 times whenever Arthur is doing something badass. This was the sequence I knew that this movie would be a blast that doesn't take itself all too seriously. And this was also when I recognized that the camera work of this film is actually quite impressive and visually striking. The film definitely has a lot of generic ways to film and edit a scene as well, especially with a lot of the talking scenes, which are also hampered by very cliché dialogues. But when it comes to the action and big set pieces, Aquaman really delivers, and director of cinematography Don Burgess, who worked on many Robert Zemeckis films like Forrest Gump or Flight, is bringing a lot of energy to the table. Combined with the colorful nature of the world, the imaginative designs and the brave, ambitious approach to bring this comic book character to life, the film really does feel and breathe like a big, spectacular cartoon. And Jason Momoa is the perfect guy to carry this with his larger-than-life screen presence. The submarine sequence is also an introduction to the film's second villain, Manta, or later Black Manta, played by Jahar Abdul-Mateen II. He's a good addition that fits the film's goofy nature, but also gives it a darker touch as well. His motivation isn't any less stereotypical than that of Patrick Wilson's character, but it had more impact and was at least a little bit more interesting, I thought. Unfortunately, he's pretty much wasted in the last third of the film, and just another manifestation of a screenplay that would have needed more focus. Manta's secret revenge is connected to an early action of Arthur, but that action feels so forced and shallow. When it's happening, or actually before it was happening, I immediately thought to myself, well, now he will do this thing, which is the foundation for his character arc, and at the end of the film he will regret it and be a better man and actual hero. This might be a little spoiler, but since it's happening so early and since it's very much superhero stories 101, I will say that it has something to do with mercy. And mercy is also the one thing the recent rulers of Atlantis, and I guess its residents too, don't really have, which of course makes it a nice element that our protagonist can make his own to show that he's the true king who can unite all people. My problem is that I thought Arthur is such a nice guy from the get-go and so instant likable that I didn't think it was really a journey for him and more so rather out of character to begin with such an action. I thought he must have regretted it immediately, and maybe he did. The film is also so light-hearted and Arthur himself is enjoying himself so much that I didn't really buy into the notion that he has to grow as a character through the course of the film. All the obstacles are also coming across a bit too easy, because he's enjoying himself so much. Shouting, "That was awesome!" after an action set piece doesn't really raise the stakes too much, but it does add to the Saturday morning cartoon flavor, so again, I didn't mind really. Because somehow epic moments, immersive and absolutely incredible shots, for example an underwater sequence that's filled with monsters everywhere who take away even the slightest rays of light with their presence, those moments and the choppy progression of the story and downright silly decisions like including weird little pop song montages or even a toilet gag, it all flows together into this big, messy but very fun comic book extravaganza. It has bad dialogue, cheesy moments, tonal shifts everywhere, but also giant energy and giant sea creatures, and the finale is totally bonkers. I really wished all the positive elements would have been made into a more focused and clever film, but as they are shiny enough to make the film glow. Does the whole underwater war scene at the end really hold any emotional impact? Not so much, because we are never that invested into this aspect of the film, and I didn't really care if evil King Orm and his countless soldiers were fighting some other underwater kingdom's monsters. But it did look really impressive and just huge. Aquaman has giant spectacle under the sea, and it has brightly lit, fast-paced action on the surface as well. And while all the relationships between Arthur, Mara, his mother Atlanta and his father Tom are also just surface level, they at least resonate enough with me to make me care for them and get enough emotions out of this giant spectacle. So in German I'd say, Aquaman ist großes Blockbuster-Spektakelkino, tolle Bilder, packende Musik und ein unglaublich charismatischer Jason Momoa. Selbst eklatante Schwächen und ein äußerst hoher Quatschfaktor ändern wenig am insgesamt sehr unterhaltsamen Samstagmorgen-Cartoon-Gesamteindruck. Eher im Gegenteil, der Film ist echt großer Spaß. I give Aquaman 7 out of 10. It's more like 6.5, but I don't do that. Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about Aquaman. You can hit me up on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram simply at TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.